All right, everybody, welcome to the final round. This is week 4, round 4 of the Tuesday Boylston Swiss, February, obviously. 4 rounds, as there are only 28 days in February. It'd be very challenging to have a 5-round February. It would have to be that it falls on the 1st on a leap year. And then, boom, that's how you get it. So I guess every, 28 years or so? Is that how it would be? 1 every 4 years, and then 1 out of 7 from that? Yeah, something like that. All right, not relevant here. The point is, you're going to get 4 rounds of February almost always. My opponent was supposed to be Mike Brown, and this morning, Mike Brown let me know. He said, "Hey, Rob, I'm not feeling well. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to play you today." And it was nice of him to tell me that. Honestly, I was really looking forward to playing Mike. A, because I was supposed to be white, but also B, because it would be the first shot at revenge against Mike. Instead, I showed up the club, and I got matched against Tyler Berry. Tyler Berry, I've played, let me show you, Tyler, yeah, here we go, 1701 live, and then 1644 currently. I have it as 1701, which, who knows which one's accurate. I played one time before, and I beat him. And the other, okay, so there's a little bit of meta gaming going on here, and here's what it is. Last week, Tyler was there early. I get to the club around a little bit before 7, so about 20 minutes before the games normally start, pretty regularly. And Tyler each time has been there before me. He was sitting there, and last week I said, "Tyler, you want to play a Blitz game?" He said, "Sure." I played him in Blitz. I beat him. And I played the Benko Gambit. And so I played black because he was going to be, I think, white. So I said, may as well, do it this way. And I showed him the Benko Gambit. He played d4. He's like, I was hoping to get a Catalan against you, and whatnot. And I showed him the Benko lines I've been kind of learning. Today, I show up at the club, and Tyler's there early as well. You know, he's kind of a buddy, sort of. And so I said, "Hey, want to play some Blitz?" And we played, and he played e4, and I played a Gambit. The Colorado Gambit, another thing I've been working on. So when the pairings got mixed and matched, and, you find out literally as of, and that I was black against Tyler, it was kind of funny, because I sat down at the board, and he throws out d4, and I thought to myself, damn, we just played, and he probably didn't want to play, and I beat him in Blitz again, by the way, so I was like, he probably doesn't want to play e4, because I just showed him this Gambit, and I got a very good position with the Gambit line, by the way. So I thought to myself, he probably doesn't want to do that again, and he plays d4, and I thought to myself, damn, I've been spending my time, learning a little bit more opening stuff that I've been learning the Benko, but he knows that, like, literally, we talked all about it last week. And I said, man, maybe I should go to my old stuff. Earlier today, I thought, I do not want to play an English rat. I'm a little bit bored of it, and I just don't think it's that special. So when I play d6, I'm praying, hoping that he doesn't go d4, c4. And thank the Lord, I'm an atheist, for the record. He doesn't oblige, and he plays knight f3. And I'm thrilled, because basically he's trying to go directly into, like, a Catalan structure. You can transpose. I would always go d4, c4, and do it that way. It really doesn't matter. There are some transpositions, some lines you can avoid. And what's funny is one of the ones that you can avoid with my line when I was going into Catalan is what I play as black, which is known as the Wade defense. Boom! You can see it over on the right, the Wade defense. So I blitz out this, and to be honest, I haven't looked at my Wade defense lines in a while, and I don't really know them that deeply. And I didn't spend that much time on it because I just didn't expect to get that many Wade defenses to begin with. And also, the third final point is, it's just not that good. The only reason I was learning it is it is very similar to the Trumpowski, only as black. So a lot of the concepts and lines and ideas that I've been learning from the Trumpowski, you can kind of apply it. It's just you're down a tempo. And because the Trumpowski is an equal opening as white, you know that as black, you're clearly going to be worse because you're down that tempo. So I went into this thinking, all right, like I'm going to have an uphill climb, in front of me. Let's go. He plays g3. Which is very common. It's one of the 3 moves I've studied in this position. I know to take, so I very quickly take. He takes with the e-pawn, of course. There's no other move. And I play c6. And roughly about here, I know it's a little bit pathetic, I am only about 5 lines deep in the book, and that's basically so far. The thing I know is with a Catalan, or kind of the fianchettoed bishop, he normally would be looking to play an e4 break. Without having this e4 pawn, he doesn't have that. And I want to be able to play d5 and very quickly establish what is known as the concrete wall, biting on granite for this bishop. And if I can do that and then just develop my pieces, I'll have an okay game. And that's kind of like the concept. That's as far as I know. He plays c4, which is very, very typical. And it looks like a weird move. And he told me afterward that he actually was familiar with the Wade defense and that he knew one line. but this wasn't it. Is I now surprise him, surprise everybody, and I play d5. And the idea, for the record here, I'll just show you what he plays. What I think is the best move, Queen b3, and I know this is a move from a lot of the Catalan positions to spike everything. But the idea is if he goes trade, I actually take with the queen, because as you can notice, I'm, of course, sort of hitting the pawn. Obviously, his queen's defending it. But he's like 3 moves away from actually opening up on my queen. And what do you know? This is known as the isolated queen's pawn, because it is on the queen file, and it is isolated. Is this a major weakness? No. Is this a weakness? Yes. And basically, so if he goes, takes, I take with the queen, not the pawn, and I have something to play for. Again, it's nothing special, but it's, again, the concepts are what I know. Instead, I think he plays the best move. I think queen b3 in my notes is basically where I left off. And I know that there's like 3 moves in this position. I can go queen b6, basically looking to trade. If he trades. I have double pawns myself, but I have an open rook file. He told me he was going to actually play c5, which I think is inaccurate, in which case it kind of forces me to trade or bounce back to c7. I think I made a determination that I wanted to keep queens on the board. In fact, I probably would have dropped it to c7 with the idea of getting e5 in, and then kind of breaking up his pawn chain. And I actually think that's fine for black, so I'm not that worried. Or I, of course, have queen d7. And I thought I needed to stay on the d file so that if he goes take, I can still potentially, not lose a pawn. That's what it's called. So I play queen d7. Just to show you the line, I thought that if I went queen b6, which is probably a fine, and he takes, this looks okay. If he swings on in, I probably block and look to, untangle. I don't think that they would do that. I think he would just, obviously fianchetto. What he told me he would do, though, is he would play this move. And obviously, if I go takes, I have a permanent weakness where it's really tough for me to develop the a-rook. And this knight is kind of struggles to get into the game a little bit. Maybe to a6 and to b4. Maybe it's not so bad. But I probably would have just dropped it to c7. Obviously, he's not threatening, to take this pawn anymore. All right, none of that happened. That's kind of the theory. I played queen d7. And when we arrived at this position, I thought I was slightly worse. But that's because the way he defends your black is just slightly worse. Like, it wasn't like... I don't think I'd, made a mistake yet. I just thought that it's kind of by virtue of the opening, he's playing normal moves. And if you play normal moves against, a subpar opening, you'll be fine. Tyler plays knight c3. And it makes sense. He's, spying this pawn. He's putting a lot of pressure. Ideally, I play my knight, but I didn't want a lot of trades to occur. I wanted to get a Slav-esque structure, so I play e6, which I thought was a very normal move here. For the record, what I saw in this position was knight here, trade, and if I take with a pawn, that's fine. If I take with the queen, takes. I still have this isolated pawn. I don't know. I thought that was fine, to be honest. I thought that the 2 moves were equal. I think the reason I played e6 is I wanted to open up potential bishop ideas. I was looking at a5, maybe a5, a4, or a5, bishop, b4, because it kind of, he hasn't castled yet, and it's kind of actually challenging for him. I thought maybe he'd have to then just unpin with a bishop. I don't know. I was calculating some of those lines. I'm not sure. This is where there's probably theory. I just don't really know it at this point. Nonetheless, I assume that he was basically going to fianchetto and castle. I've got two moves of tempo. So he does that. He plays bishop g2. And the whole time, for the record, I actually now developed the knight. I was wondering if this position is good for me. And I thought it was. So I wasn't sure when it's right for me to play d takes c4. But I didn't think I needed to do it until I have to. But maybe I'm wrong. I thought I just needed to get my pieces out, to be honest. All right, so I play knight f6. I don't really think there's much to be said. He castles. And I play bishop e7. I blitz this out. Tyler was slow. He got into time trouble, actually. I didn't. I was rather quick. I think I started the one move where I spent a long think. But I spent 5 minutes in the first 8 moves. And then, a couple minutes per move after that with only one deep think. I was kind of in the zen flow, to be honest. So I play bishop e7. The idea here is pretty obvious. I'm a little bit, not worried, but anxious if he pins me. This kind of breaks any pin. I'm developing my dark square bishop so I can castle. I'm spying this diagonal because one idea that I thought he might have would be to go knight a4, rerouting it to knight c5 and just bearing down on the b pawn. I thought if that happened, I needed to keep my bishop on this diagonal and sort of trade it off. That's why I was not looking to fianchetto myself, for the record. Although I think that would be a reasonable line, because, again, against the isolated pawn, it would give me a whole lot of scope. I have a clever idea of how to kind of attain that anyway later, but that was kind of my thinking. So, no problem. Tyler plays rook e1. It's a half-open file. He's now putting a little bit more pressure, like takes, and all of a sudden I'm pinned. I wondered if I should do something about it, and I thought, wait, yeah, now's a great time to take. Let's just take. Let's give him the isolated pawn. This is a permanent weakness. One thing I've been learning from Daniel Naroditsky in his videos is he mentions it's not just important to prevent the isolated pawn from moving, although that's huge. Like, obviously, you can blockade it or just control the square in front of it, but you also have to make plans of attacking it so you can win the pawn. And I thought, all right, the game is going to boil down to I have the biting on granite, so I'm kind of taking away the oomph of his light square bishop. He has a weakness. Let's just develop my pieces in such a way that I can gang up on the d-pawn, and if it falls, I'll just be better, Easy enough. Let's just do it. Sometimes some things are simple. Maybe this will be a fast game. Who knows? All right. Tyler takes with the queen. I thought there was I actually thought, I wondered if he had a non-takes move. I wondered if queen a4 was a thing, with the idea of pushing f4 and threat. I don't know if you guys can see this, but, threatening this kind of stuff. In other words, like kind of tying in my my knight in some lines. But it doesn't ever work, for the record. But I did wonder if queen a4 was a move here. He didn't think long. He just took, and I said, okay, avoided any of that nonsense. Let's not even bother thinking about it. After he goes, queen takes on c4. I look at the position. I'm pretty happy. I thought my opening was a little bit dubious, but I think I've completely navigated. I think I'm out of trouble. I castle, and honestly, the position looked really good to me. I'm mostly developed. He has to spend another tempo getting this piece in. There's no pin. My bishop's taking it away. This diagonal doesn't really matter. I will be able to get my knight out. One thing I was looking at was knight a6 to b4. Certainly you guys can see this, but threatening a fork. Also controlling the d5 square. And I thought if I can basically range my pieces like that, where especially if he trades his knight for my knight, I would have what's known as an unimpenetrable outpost, because he has no pawns on either side. And so my knight would actually be dominant. So it would be the classic good knight against potentially a bad bishop. That was what I was going for, to be completely honest. So, all right, so I castle, and I have tons of time. I'm feeling pretty good. And I think Tyler I think this is a bad move, bishop e3. Now, it is supporting the isolated pawn, but it's so passive. He's, first off, robbing his half-open file, so there's no threat down that file either. This piece is not really attacked anyway right now, at least not yet. So he's it's very prophylactic, and it's just a very inactive square for his bishop. I told him I thought that he should actually go here anyway, with the threat of actually trading it. Because I actually think that this is going to be a more active knight. Again, I mean, if you guys followed along with what I was saying, I'm going to be able to get it to d5 and control everything in the middle of the board. But I think he didn't want to give up the bishop pair. Again, I don't think this pin has much teeth right now, but for the same reason, he could probably trade. Although I think that position favors me, because I think that's a dominant bishop that I would have. A, spying his isolated pawn, but also B, the weakness on b2. So I don't like that for him, for the record. But didn't matter. He played a passive move. Maybe it's still fine. I'm sure the computer will tell me when I run it. I stick to my plan. I think that I have all these moves, and I'm considering it's an anti-positional move to play b5. It would open up his light square bishop. But at the right time, I wondered if I'm ever supposed to play b5. Given I'm taking away a lot of squares, I thought that there were some lines where I'd be trapping his queen, depending on what he does. So b5 was kind of in my back pocket, like a b5, b4 idea even. But I stick to the plan, chums, and I play knight a6. My idea mostly is to go to b4 to kind of hit the forking square. Alternatively, if he stops it, i.e. a3, I would reroute it to d5 and look to just trade, and again, play a very strong knight against the isolated pawn. Life is good. Or, hell, even reroute it to c7, which, by the way, is what happens. Spoiler alert enabled. All right, so knight a6 is played on the board. Where are we in game? Move 12, okay. He plays rook a c1. He's getting his last piece into the game. I was surprised he did this. I asked him after the game, I said, Tyler, did you think that this file was going to open? And he said, yeah. He said, I was going to play b4, b5, thinking that this kind of softens it up, which finally opens up my bishop. So he said in those lines, I thought it made sense to have my rook on c1. And in retrospect, that does make a lot of sense to me. But I, for some reason, thought that maybe he should place a rook on d1 so that it kind of spies my queen and also watches his isolated pawn. I think at some point he's got to kind of get rid of this because it's just a weakness. It's floating in thin air. Again, I'm just controlling the key squares. But I don't know. Over the board, I thought this was a slight mistake. I'm sure I'm wrong, but it was something I was thinking about. I am spying certain pins and whatnot. All right. So I do a mini thing here, and I see a very well. Okay, I'm gonna flatter myself a little too much, but that's okay. And I see a funny idea. I look at this position. I'm like, all right. I ideally probably want my rooks on the D and C file. I think I want to gang up on this pawn. It's not so easy yet. In order to do that, I probably need a knight on f5, maybe, or I need a bishop on f6. And I thought, all right, that's kind of funky to like reroute my pieces that way. I don't really have these out wide jumps. Things like that maybe are possible. But I think, wait, why do you go to f6 when I actually can go to b6? And I thought to myself, all right, that solidifies the a pawn, so I'm never like worried about it falling in some lines. And I'm putting direct pressure on the d pawn. Because again, if I'm able to win it, I'm just winning. And I want to put my rooks in the middle, but I stop and I say, wait, I need to reroute my bishop now so that my rooks aren't in the way of that same plan. And I thought that was strong because he can never push it. It's just kind of hanging around there. And because I'm not really looking to play b5, I can go for it. So I play bishop d8, and my idea is kind of clear. Not only is it to reroute specifically to b6, eyeing this pawn, but I also thought in some lines I might want to put it on a5 to kind of spy the e1 rook. If I have it on b4, I thought he could just eject me with a3. But if I have it on a5, he can never play b4 because, again, because of my knight on a6, which looks funny, I'm taking it away. So I thought that kind of like the in-depth positional idea of this plan was strong. Strong, as some people say. And I think Tyler missed it a little bit because he plays a3 here. And I think he was taking away, while the bishop was here, this knight jump. Again, there's like a forking square. There's forks all over the place. Family forks. Again, especially if I'm able to like eject the queen. He'd probably would have to stay on this long diagonal. Maybe he'd go here. I would be like fighting him back, if you will. Having said that, once I play the bishop here, we both thought that his better move here is probably b4 immediately. I probably would still reroute like this, but this allows him to then play b5, thereby opening up his piece. And I think he needed to play this. And I think this would have been pretty good for him, to be honest. That's assuming, of course, that I would still follow through with the bishop b6. I don't know. But I think that was his better move. I think actually white is a little bit better. Instead he plays a3, and I do think this is a mistake. And I play, as noted, bishop b6. Now he strikes b4. He kind of prepared it, but I think it was a turn too slow. Because as soon as this happens, I realize I can slam a bam bing bong, take away the b5 square, and have a dominant knight again, harassing the d4 pawn. Because that was my long-term plan anyway. Getting it in this position on the b5 square. Now I'm attacking the d pawn. And again, if that falls, and I'd have 3 attackers, I think I'd be winning. For the record, so you guys can see, like, I'll just show, like, in this variation, that if I get it here, whoops, yeah, in this variation, like, I'm attacking the pawn. Let's say he attacks. I thought that this pin wasn't actually dangerous anymore. I have potential forks, not now. But if he moves it over, obviously now he has 1, 2, 3 attacking it. I thought I always have e5. That was my calculation anyway. Later he's going to play f4, which I think is very powerful. It takes away my e5 idea. But I thought that the pawn was actually potentially hanging in those lines. Hopefully that calculation made sense. But I was looking that I actually would be able to take it because I have e5 at the end of the line. Nonetheless, after b4, I do play knight c7. It seems pretty obvious. I'm trying to take away the b5 square. And, well, maybe I miss his idea here, because now he plays knight a4. And this is where, my friends, I did quite a think. And actually, it's not here. I thought my move here was forced. I wanted to take away the pawn push. I wanted to apply pressure. I moved the knight, and this also gives me a square with the bishop. I assumed he was going to go takes, and then I'm hitting this pawn. Basically, I can take it with tempo, and he'd have the bishop pair, but I'd be up a pawn with an open file. And then I realized he actually has another move that also might be good, which is knight b5. And I think he really needed to choose between knight b5, hitting my queen, like infiltrating. The problem is I still have the ability to take it. And yeah, so after I played knight b5, he then thought for a while. Again, Tyler was getting already down to like 45 minutes at this point. I had used like 15 minutes at this point, maybe 17. Like I was moving quite fast today. And he does play it. And this is where finally I do, I've used, let's say, 17 minutes. And I think this was my only long think of the match. I spent 17 minutes here, we'll say. I know I got below at the hour mark. Because I had to calculate. I said, takes, well, that fixes his weakness, but it lets me take the pawn. And then I'm hitting the queen. I can then bounce back. And then I said, wait, he doesn't have to take with that. He maybe takes the queen. Maybe he's infiltrating. This is a long-term weakness. Now when I take this pawn, it's no longer with tempo. So maybe that's less good. I said, what if I play the queen over? And I had to look at the moves. Well, he's probably going to slam a4 anyway, meaning I'm going to have to get my knight, and I'm all of a sudden very, very stuffed. And I basically calculated almost everything. Except, when I played bishop takes, which I did, I realized I didn't calculate a4 in this spot. And so, on his time, I immediately saw this move, and I was like, oh my god, does this work? And I found what I thought was a great resource. Well, he doesn't actually take. He ends up, for the record, I'm not sure if he made the right capture here. He played queen takes, leaving himself the permanent weakness, but getting out of this with tempo. I thought that if he played a4 here, I have this desperado, bishop takes b4, hitting this rook, so he has to then take queen takes on b4. And now, if you can see this, he's lasering the b pawn. I thought my only move was knight d6 here. And I thought his best play was to just gang up on this pawn. Right now, my knight is taking it away. But, yeah, I thought black was better here, but barely. Like, I'm up a pawn, but his bishops are going to now open up. He has long-term pressure. He's got space. Honestly, I'd be very surprised. Actually, I think that he has adequate compensation for the pawn. I'll say that much. And this is kind of the position I saw. And I do think his best fighting move would have been a4. Instead, he doesn't do that. He plays queen takes. I know I'm better in this position. Or at least, and again, we'll look at the computer. But I assumed I was better here. Because I didn't waste much time. And I thought, okay, does he have any, like, before in all the lines, when I played knight takes, his queen was here. And I'm immediately hitting it. And I said, does the fact that it's queen here change anything? And I didn't see any tactics. I didn't see anything. So I thought I could just take. And if I do something stupid, let's just say I take the file, he now plays a4, and now my position is worse, to be clear. So I thought if I really am going to be better, I have to gobble this pawn, and I've got to make an outside pass pawn, which is my win condition, to be very clear. And this is where I'm surprised. I think Tyler overreacted here. I think his position is not that bad. In fact, if anything, I think he's got decent compensation. I still would have gone for the other line, probably, like with a4 or whatnot. But he now lashes out with h4, and I just didn't see it. Like, I didn't see the attack. I'm definitely guilty of being too rosy-cheeked or rose-filled glasses of not worrying about being attacked. But it just felt so slow, so many moves. So I looked at this and I said, all right, maybe I could overreact and play like h5. But I think h5 is a big mistake because I think then he plays g4 and he gets his f3 pawn into the game. Like, he just starts pawn storming me. So I said, fuck that noise. Let's just retreat with my knight, right? Like, let's just go back, just so you guys can see. If I played h5, I thought he could play g4. And I think now he's actually opening up my king. And if he opens up these lines to basically, get on over, then actually I'm in trouble, even though I'm up the pawn. Pawn is totally irrelevant. So I centralize my knight. I kind of get it back from the rim, so it's no longer dim. And Tyler plays f4. And now, for the record, I thought this was actually decent. Because now I'm not actually attacking this pawn. Like, my idea was to basically centralize the rooks, something like this. Just bangering and bing bong. And I thought if I won the second pawn, these 3 against 1 would be unstoppable. And it would be very, very easy to convert that. So I thought for a while. This was the other time in the game where I did a lengthy think. Because I realized I needed to keep this knight watching the g4 square. I kept eyeing the d3 square, because that's a forking square. I kept eyeing getting a knight onto e2, because that's a forking square. So I'm trying to look at all these like family forks. I know that this d5 spot is great, but I wanted to place both knights on it. Ideally, if he trades, then I'm just like attacking everything. And even though I'm up a pawn, I'm not sure if I want to trade off the queens yet. Blah, 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 blah. So I thought, okay, I can't just let him play g4 with impunity. This knight is watching the a pawn, so it does free this rook. And I looked at this and I tried to be precise. I said, what is my worst piece in the game? And I said, it's my f rook. You can argue my a rook is doing something where I thought of playing a5 many times to basically go trade and just get some activity and some long-term threat. But I said no. We want to centralize the rook. Let's play rook fd8, even though I didn't really believe that I was threatening this pawn. In fact, I think it's a trap if I take the pawn. And I think Tyler made a mistake. He plays rook e d1. He's like overprotecting it. And I just think that it's such a weakness. It's such a bad pawn. It's isolated. I think that he should be looking to get rid of it and, again, open up the position. And again, one of the traps is if I take it and then he slides the rook under, I could very well lose a piece, especially when I no longer have e5. That's what I was alluding to earlier. I looked at this position. I'm like, okay, great. Like, if I can get both knights here, kind of around, ideally trade off a knight for a bishop, and then obviously I have, like, free range, just take the b-pawn, I'm golden. Like, this is going to be, should be an easy win, right? No, it's never easy. Well, I played queen d6. I'm assuming he's not going to trade. If he does, trade, and then I bring my rooks into the game. Again, easy play, just ganging up on this pawn. But what I'm really threatening is I'm trying to attack the b-pawn, and I'm thinking that if I bring my knight into the game at this point, I'm attacking it, because then I can go knight takes pawn, and if he then goes queen takes, rook takes, that's totally fine. Again, with the idea at that point of literally just playing like a5, a4, a3, a2, a1, queen, that sort of thing. All right. So after queen d6, Tyler plays queen c4. He wants to keep the queens on. I think his best bet is to trade, actually. Maybe. But this position looks pretty good for black. Not going to be honest. I am going to be honest. But he doesn't do that. He kind of backtracks. And now I think I just have an easy conversion because I play knight d5. Again, I'm hitting this pawn. It's worth pointing out you should never go queen takes pawn because that will be a blunder. Because then he plays bishop takes knight. The bishop is supporting the queen. And if I take back the bishop, then my queen is hanging on b4. And that is a tactic I saw, thankfully. So do not do that. I thought that, yes, I'm hitting the pawn. Also, another thing is if he defends the pawn, I have this fork. And that's what I was really going for. Knight c3, it's supported by the b5 knight. And then I'd be hitting both rooks. I also, if I had landed a knight there, am threatening, of course, if he then moves back, this check to fork and then win the exchange. I just thought that my knights were getting all the play. I told him in the aftermath that because it's a very closed position, like, and I sealed up his bishops, not only do I have a pawn, but I also thought flat out my knights had a lot more activity, that they were just better than the bishops, even though it's a bishop pair. So I think Tyler agreed with me. I mean, it's hard not to. He's kind of stuck here, and I thought he'd react and defend this pawn, but he goes animal style and he plays h5 on me, and I'm like not really believing in his attack. I think I could have ignored it and just snatched this pawn, but I thought that the precise line would be h6 to just kind of block everything down. So I play it, thinking that he's just so slow of getting these pawns rolling that doesn't matter. However, Tyler, seeing the game is slipping far out of his control, plays g4. I do my third think of the game. I think this brings me, the first one, maybe all my other moves combined were like 15 minutes. I had a 15-minute think, so it's like 30. 10-minute think and maybe another 10-minute think. Yeah, so that's like 50 minutes total. So I probably got brought down to about 40 minutes. And I'm like, okay, why can I not take this pawn? Should I take this pawn? Do I just take this and just play, he has a very weakened structure where I still have the one pawn advantage? And I said, no. Let's go for the gonads here. I obviously don't have this move now because he would just sack the rook for the two knights, and that's actually pretty good for white. So I calculated all the stuff, and I figured if I take, he's going to move the bishop, because if he lets me just go knight for bishop, it's going to be very easy. He probably needs to keep it on this diagonal. From that square, maybe I'm hitting e2. I was looking at ways of dislodging the knight, for example, knight a3 ideas, again, to go for this fork. I then realized if I take this pawn and he moves his bishop, again, to one of these squares, not protecting the h3 square, I always have knight check on h3 and then rerouting it to g5, thereby locking everything up and threatening to infiltrate with my queen on g3, which would just be winning, for the record. So I looked at all those. I did all of the calculations I could, And I said, screw it. He probably just missed this. I'm just going to take the pawn. And what's funny is after the game, Tyler said he was just flinging the pawns at me. He didn't even realize I was hitting it twice. And I think at this point, and I'm curious, I'm sure White has some defensive ideas. When I grabbed the second pawn and I basically had everything under control, I knew I was going to win the game at this point. So hopefully you guys realize that I'm about to win. All right, so anyway, I play knight takes on f4 as a last gasp. Not surprisingly, Tyler does move the bishop. He goes bishop e4. I thought that long-term maybe he's got some sacrifice ideas and like wheeling on through. There's still nothing there. All my f-pawn is taking away the square. Like everything is just locked down. And I was like, okay, Rob, let's just figure out how to win this game. And I thought I was clinical. I played knight c7 with the idea, obviously if he trades, I trade, and like that's great. I'm threatening this pawn. Everything is falling for him. But if I can move into d5 myself, I would be hitting this pawn, I'd be hitting this rook. I can then infiltrate where he doesn't have the dark squares, and it's just over. Before Tyler resigns, he plays rook a1. He's not really threatening anything. I don't think the move does anything. I follow through with my plan, knight cd5. He then plays rook db1. Again, not really threatening anything. And I trade. I go trade, and then I think this is a good move to kind of win, just win the game. I just go back. The reason why is my queen's getting in. I'm checking. I'm attacking this pawn. He could go trade, but then this pawn again is attacking the queen. I'm still, again, going to get my pieces in. If he does take, I actually would take with the pawn, as noted. I have all the play, kind of getting in. And Tyler resigns here. Maybe he could have played on a bit. I don't mind with my opponent, but like he was down till below 10 minutes, and I get the win. So, yeah, this might be a faster recap. That's 30 minutes for sure. I am very curious about the analysis. I obviously have not done any analysis. I went right from the game where I actually rode the tee back with Tyler. Then I just got home. I ate some salad and a little bit of pizza. And now I'm doing the recap. So, and so this does mean I finished the open section 2 wins, which is great. I did only draw Nico, who was like 1250, although I think he's done very well in the middle section. I don't think the standings are up yet. Let's find out. Final standings. All right. So final standings, it looks like they gave me some points. I had 2 wins, which is great. But I did have the side game here, which is less great, where I drew Nico rating. 900 rating? No way. Nico, no way. Okay, that's not accurate. 900, because please don't do that to me. No, Nico finished. Looks like 1320. How did Nico do tonight? He played another side game and he beat an 800. Okay, so this doesn't mean anything. He's provisional. So so Nico ended up being 1320 right now, finishing second, tied for first. Actually, with Zane. Good for Nico. I guess in theory he could play in the open section if he wants next month. Zane is getting his points back. Good job, Zane. And I performed pretty well. I lost to Zach Tower, who's definitely a better player than me. But I feel pretty good. I was able to beat both Tyler and Romaine, Mr. Lettuceman. I gotta throw that out there. It's kind of sad. Romaine didn't show up tonight. Daniel Gillis got a forfeit. All right, so let's do the analysis now. I don't know what my final rating will be. Again, the draw against Nico will probably hurt. From the open section, it looks like, I'm not actually 1590. I was 1630 to begin with. This says I gained like 50. I'm sure I lost some against Nico. I'll probably finish the month around 1680 or so. I need to be 1710 to play the open, next month. I won't be. Maybe they'd make an allowance, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to be playing the middle section in March with one clear goal. Win that tournament again. Show my might. Be great. Play some good moves. And earn my way back into the open. That's my goal. For now, though, for the short term, that was 30 minutes. Let's go through the computer analysis because I am very curious. Actually, let's do this first. I'm actually going to do the review first. Because I am really curious how I did. Because I have no idea. 93%. I played a strong game. Good. It wasn't a perfect game, but I think I played very, very well. Tyler played 83.8. He made some mistakes. He probably could have made it more difficult at the end. And at the end, it was just lost. Pretty proud of myself, though. Yeah, it does look like he played the opening better than me. But hey, You know, sometimes it's okay to just tap yourself on the back and say 93%, pretty good. I've played better, but this is still pretty good. So, okay, let's go through the Wade. This is all book, and then what is the best move? D5. Ah, interesting. So I don't know if you guys see this on the computer. Again, I know my computer sometimes lags. I'll eat a bite of salad in the meantime. Okay. So when we're out of book, I know that D5 is a move. I told him that, and he thought it was coming later. But I know it's very important to get D5 in. I also know that C6 is a move. Those are the two best moves. It's the two moves I play. So it looks like I played them in the wrong order. Very small difference. Very, very, very small. And this is what I mean. Like, where in our book moves, white does maintain an advantage. This is kind of as far as the theory I knew. And it does look like D5 and C6 are the ideas. So this is by no means a bad move. C6 is the second best in the position. And my idea is pretty clear. I'm trying to blunt his bishop. He plays C4, which is excellent, and the computer does recommend D5. All right, so I'm proud of myself. I do know the theory up to this point. Again, I think I've said this as a generality. I want to be like 8 moves deep in every position I play. This is the move 5. I was 5 move deep in the Wade defense. I don't know it super well, but it looks like I did have the right idea here, and this is by far the best move to kind of combat it and play D5. So I'm thrilled that I did play this, and there you go. Sometimes, practice pays off. It's just a bummer. There's nothing special in the Wade, and clearly, like, white has this advantage. It's a small advantage, 0.4, but it is an advantage. I would definitely consider, 0.4 an advantage. And he does find the best move, Queen B3. I did like that a lot. It looks like there's a lot of moves that are all, like, pretty comparable. Like, he can't really go wrong, even H4 here. There's a lot of moves that are fine, like, totally decent for him. Nothing's, like, winning or anything like that, but he does find the best move, Queen B3. So props to Tyler. All right, interesting. Queen B6 is actually more accurate. I was torn between Queen B6 and Queen D7. Obviously, those are like the two moves. I'm going to be completely honest. I had a suspicion that Queen B6 was better on the board, but so many of my D6 lines are queenless, and I didn't want to play a queenless middle game this game. So, not to pat myself on the back too much, I did make the calculation that I think Queen B6 was slightly better. I just didn't want to play it. I don't know if that's better or worse, but just so you guys can see, if I play Queen B6, which is slightly better, the computer actually recommends Queen A4, which is interesting. Because if he trades, and then I take back... okay, so yeah, it looks like... And then obviously C takes, just so you guys can see, which was pretty obvious, and then C takes. And yeah, if we reach this is kind of what I evaluated. It looks like white is slightly better if he plays knight c3, which is a very obvious move. It's a developing move that then hits the pawn, so I don't think that's a hard move to find. I didn't think there's anything wrong with this position. I thought this is kind of the position we would reach. For the record, that's not what he said he wanted to do. Instead, after Queen b6, he said that he was going to play c5, which I think is a bad move. Yeah, it kind of gives up the advantage. Okay. Obviously, I didn't know that he was going to go into this. But there's nothing special either about this position. It's just completely equal at this point. Which is fine, And the computer's recommended like g6, which is not a hard move to find. With the idea here that I do want to fianchetto, because d4 is a permanent weakness. It's a backwards pawn, and my bishop would be perfectly positioned to hit it. So I think I'd be able to find that move, no problem. They also like e6, just locking up kind of like a Slav-esque structure. Okay, let's go back to the game. I did want to just show that as far as the calculation. I played queen d7, which looks like the second best move. I'm not like surprised, but I internally, between you and me, all the people that watch this and myself, I did want to keep queens on. It's not like an ego thing. It's just I just didn't want to play a queenless game. That's kind of that simple. And I figured the two moves are very, very similar. But if I had to bet everything on a move, I did think queen b6 was very, very slightly better. Taking a sip of seltzer. Hopefully I don't burp on video, on camera. Nothing wrong with burping, but, sometimes trying to be professional here. Not really. I mean, all of, 10 people watch these videos. Shout out to the 10 who watch these videos. All right, he plays knight c3. Seems like a very obvious move. It's very strong. And, yeah, this is what I mean. We're like 7 moves in. I play the best move, e6. Yeah, e6 and knight f6 were my candidate moves, or even d takes. Yeah, those are the only 3 moves in the position. Those are the only 3 moves I considered. I'm glad. Good for me. All right, maybe I play this position well. I don't know. Interesting. And this is what I mean. I feel like I thought once we played e6, computer has it as like plus 0.7, which again is like a decent advantage. I thought that I was like fine. I thought I was kind of out of the woods. 0.7 is not nothing. If somebody told me I play 8 moves as white and get a 0.7 position, I would be like, sign me up. You know what I mean? Like, deal. Which is why the weight is not great, because I feel like I haven't played bad moves. It's just white has played like kind of obvious moves, pretty good ones. The only one that you kind of have to know is this queen b3 idea, which is not that hard in a lot of like Catalan lines. A lot of d4 players, you know, I'm always looking for queen b3 ideas in a lot of setups because you're like activating your queen. Nonetheless, all right. And I'm right. He should play bishop f4. I said it. Look at that. Okay. I thought bishop f4 was his best move. Again, activating that piece and actually even looking to trade it off, which is, you know, again, what the computer recommends. Interesting. He doesn't do that, though. Instead, he plays bishop g2, which is very tempting because he's fianchettoing, and it looks like this is where it belongs. But I thought it was inaccurate as well. And now the computer does say I should just play d takes, threatening again the isolated pawn. I've made this comment before, but I'm consistently like a move behind doing things. You know, it is what it is. D takes, bishop e7, knight a6. This is where I put all my pieces. Knight e7, interestingly enough. Yeah, and then knight f6, which is fine. It's still fine. Interesting. Computer now recommends c5, sealing it up, robbing me of the chance to go pawn takes pawn. I wonder what I would have done. I said to him after the game, I said to Tyler, I said, yeah, as white, I know a lot of times playing c5 is bad. But interestingly, I don't think it necessarily would be bad here. However, I think I would have deviated. I would have gone g6, bishop g7, and just attacked the backwards d pawn that way. So I wasn't actually all that upset about c5. The natural move is to castle, which is just fine, obviously. It's the second best move. You can't really fault, you know, it's considered excellent. You cannot fault white for castling that position. I still should play d takes c4. Again, I'm consistently a move or two slow on like the best ideas. I eventually find it. I should have done that here. Takes. I don't know why I was reluctant. Maybe because I wasn't worried about c5, but like that's what he needs to play to lock up the position. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, I play bishop e7, which is second best. It looks like a pretty solid move. You can't really fault this. He still needs to play c5. Like if he can play c5, white can claim a decent advantage of plus 0.5. If he fails to play it, he won't. And he fails to play it. This is the first inaccuracy of the game, rook e1. It looks like he's bearing down. Finally, after having 3 opportunities to go d takes c4, I finally say, oh, I can give him an isolated pawn. Let's just lock that up here. He pretty much has to take back. Let's go d takes c4. And look at that. I played d takes c4. Yeah, I did just jot down. I wondered if queen a4 was a move. It is the second best move, but it's wrong. The only move where white is still maintaining a small advantage is to just capture back, which is the natural and obvious move. But just because a move is obvious and natural doesn't mean that's what people do. It's just when I was playing, I kind of considered that as a candidate move for my opponent. Sorry. Eating a little bit more salad. All right. My back is starting to hurt me again. It's been a couple days as well. I was pain-free for weeks, and now I'm back to having some pain, which is just a miserable experience. I don't know if anyone here has suffered with injuries, but it sucks. Okay. Back to the game at hand. D takes c4. He obviously goes queen takes c4, because what the hell else is he going to do? I play, I certainly probably play, I castle here. Castling and knight a6 are the two ideas, just getting my pieces in the game. I feel pretty good about myself. I play simple chess, and simple chess is often rewarded. Castling is good. I mean, okay, they want knight a6 immediately. I just want to get I wanted to get out of the potential long-term pin, you know, blah, blah, blah. You guys heard my explanation. Now we're just kind of going for the raw computer, you know, give it to me, baby. Does he make another inaccuracy here? Bishop e3 is totally fine. Anytime a move is within 0.2, I will not criticize it because it's 0.2 pawns. If it's more than that, I can criticize it, but 0.2 is nothing. Can't argue with bishop e3, which is interesting because remember I said I thought this was a mistake, but yes, the computer wants bishop f4, which is what I was saying. Bishop f4 to me seemed like the... Okay, I don't want to sound like an asshole or a jackass, because that's far from it. And I'm friendly with Tyler, so hopefully it doesn't come across that way. But to me, when I was playing, bishop f4 felt like the best move in the position, because this is his worst piece, and he could accomplish something. He can basically own this diagonal, which I think really matters, and I don't have an easy way to dislodge him at all. It also takes away like e5 ideas, things like that. So I thought that was the most active square. Putting it on e3 does something. It supports the isolated pawn, but it blocks in his rook, and it's very passive. So that's why I didn't like his move. But he plays it, and again, it's not like a bad move. The computer still says it's good, but it's not what I would have done. I'll say that much. Looks like, finally, I'm emerging on move 12, with having a little bit of a better position. Rook d8, which makes sense, kind of trying to get this battery going, and knight a6, which I think is what I do, are the two moves that the computer say are worth playing. I didn't like knight d5 immediately, because I thought, I don't think it was bad either. I think I considered knight d5. But I play knight a6, as you guys can tell, We're kind of just doing the thing, we're running the engineering. The good guy is starting to generate some oomph. Looks like the computer, he plays rook ac1, which is not on the candidate move list, but there's a lot of moves that are very equal for white. Yeah. The computer recommends AD1. That's what I was saying in the analysis part. All right, I'm glad. My instincts were pretty on point today. Maybe I played it. Obviously, 93% is a good game. I think I was on the ball today, to be honest. Yeah, rook AD1. I thought it made sense to watch the pawn and eye the queen. I didn't think that it belonged on the c file. I think one of my weaknesses is definitely putting the rooks on different squares. It's an important thing, but this one I thought I was locked in. H4 as well is just starting the attack now is something computer says maybe he should do, or just retreating the queen back to b3 because it's somewhat misplaced on c4, which I agree with, which is one of the reasons I liked the pawn takes pawn, because it forces queen, I thought, to kind of a bad square. Instead he plays rook ac1, which is still fine. Okay, it's within 0.1, really shouldn't criticize it. A lot of his moves are fine, we're just playing positional chess. Oh, I thought the computer was going to like my idea. Looks like this is my first inaccuracy of the game. I was really proud of going to d8 and then ending up on either a5 or b6, but the computer does not like it. It says I should go with the knight dance to b4 or rook fd8, which is the other move I really was considering. I just didn't want to do that before I juggled my my bishop. Just kind of curious, because this is a move I was considering, knight b4. I'm not really threatening this stuff. Honestly, I thought he would just play a3. Oh, and the reason why is you've done this reroute from its original square on b8 to a6 to b4. You get bounced, and then this is where you can reroute it to the more active square, where then the knights are connected. Okay, that makes sense. So it's less about threatening like these forks or the infiltration, and more about just getting it from the rim to active in the middle, where we could trade it off for one of his centralized pieces. And getting rid of the knight for, let's say, the bishop means that black is slightly better. And I can see that, and I believe that. Okay, in my move, you can criticize it, because it's like 0.4-ish worse than the best move. Okay, and the reason why, what's the punish? Queen b3? Knight e4? Oh! Okay, I suggested to Tyler after the game, I said I thought that bishop f1, and I know this from a lot of Catalan lines, where you kind of have, especially if you're biting on granite, you want to get into a more active square, and that's actually one suggestion I had for him. I said bishop f1 seemed reasonable to me a lot of the time. Alright, so the computer doesn't like my plan. I thought it made sense to kind of get it around and attack the d-pawn, because it's isolated, and again, I have it blockaded with these pawns, but now actually, as Daniel Naroditsky said in his videos, RIP, it's not just enough to control the square ahead of it, you also need to attack it. Alright, well, whatever. I played bishop d8. Looks like the computer doesn't love it. And you know what? Tyler was very critical of himself for the a3 move after the game. And I was to a small extent. But the computer still really likes it because it does take away this knight jump, which is one idea of like the possible reroutes. I thought I could always go to c7 and then back, but yeah, interesting. So does the computer not like my follow-up with getting it to b? No, bishop b6 is the best move. Okay, so now that we're in this position, it's a very equal game. I'm really surprised that the computer gives white plus 0.3 because I'm going to be honest, I felt like black had an advantage here. Just because he's got a very obvious weakness and I'm going to get my pieces in to gun it, and I didn't see an active plan from my opponent. Maybe somebody better than me can explain to me why the computer slightly prefers white, but I don't get it. And it looks like he needs to play knight a4 immediately and just get rid of this piece, which is... I guess he wastes time with the b4. And b4 is still fine. It's not like black is better, but it's not best. Alright, I play the prophylactic knight c7. The computer likes my move. I'm glad. It seemed to make sense because he was going to hit me with b5 anyway. So I play the best move. Good job, Robert! Hopefully the computer has not lagged too much. How long is this video? Only 50 minutes? Alright, well this game will definitely be done within 10 minutes. Let's be honest. This means I can give myself another bite of salad. Why not? Computer still wants him to play queen b3. Or f4. And at the table, I wasn't looking at queen b3 for him, but I was looking at f4. I know that, like, in both Trumpowski and the Wade defense, when you kind of double their pawns here, it's really important that they either eliminate the weakness or get it rolling so it can do something. And in this case, it takes away the e5 square, which I think is useful to have, like, another defender there. However, Tyler makes a mistake and plays knight a4 in this position. It's not great because of what I did. Computer likes my move, and now black is a little bit better. And it's because knight b5, I'm attacking that pawn with tempo to attack the queen. So even though he can get the bishop pair, I will get a pawn out of it. And as I said to him, I mean, look, I told Tyler after the game, I said, look, I'm up the pawn here, but I think you have a lot of compensation. I barely thought I was better. The computer agrees. It's like, 0.3 basically. Like, it's very, very playable. I think this is an example of a game, like, I've done this the same as Tyler, where I think he was playing, like, totally fine, decently, in fact, but, like, he lost a little bit, and I think he kind of made matters a lot worse, you know what I mean? And I've done the same, so, like, this is not a criticism. Yeah. Alright. I do play the best move. This seemed rather obvious to me. Knight b5, again, hitting the pawn, controlling the d4 square, blah, 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 letting myself perhaps have a escape hatch. I move up. Good job, good job, good job. And he plays, so see, really, I'm actually shocked. I wondered, okay, I don't know if you guys can see this, but knight c5 is the second best move. It's still it's not already minus 0.5, so he's got a little bit of compensation for the pawn, but only, but only some with the bishop pair. Just because the bishop's just not that good, at least not right now. They give him an accuracy for the knight c5, but that's really unfair. It's his second best move. It's within 0.3. Like I actually wouldn't criticize this move, but I'm just kind of curious why this is so bad. Knight takes on b6, pawn takes, and because the reason why is I'm hitting this pawn twice, and I guess now my rook has like a lot of activity. So let's say he plays rook ed1, which is where I think it should have been like a long time ago. Hitting here, I can just take the pawn with tempo. And when I play knight takes on a3, I have the open lines, and life is pretty good for me. Another reason why having queen b3, the computer suggests many, many times, would have served as a prophylactic move in a lot of lines. All right, well, nonetheless, he plays knight c5, which, as you guys can tell, in this position, knight c5 is... Or now the computer is not sure. Now they're saying knight c5. No, now they're thinking it's a little bit better. They can't quite make up their mind. But now they're saying it's only the fourth best move. That he actually should juggle his rooks. For example, go back to a1, just to lock up the pawn. I thought if he moved rook a1, which is I thought was a possibility, I was actually going to just move my bishop to prevent him from taking it. Just so you guys can see, if he plays rook a1, preventing me from attacking it. The computer likes queen d5 best, but I was actually going to... Interesting. I think I would have made a mistake in this position then. I think I would have played bishop c7, which is bad. Then it gives the advantage right back to It gives the advantage right back to white because then he is now able to play knight c5 with tempo, and I no longer remember I said a long time ago I needed my bishop on this diagonal to take away the knight. So maybe I wouldn't have done that. Interesting, yeah. That would have been a good chance for me to have made a mistake. All right, well, whatever. He plays knight c5. Bishop takes is the best move. In fact, it's the only move. My first reaction was to go queen e7, and I did think about this move for a while. I'm glad because it looks like if I played what to me was a natural move, just like, in the Zen flow, black would have still been fine. If anything, minus 0.1, it's an equal position. But I did think here. In fact, on my score sheet, it's the move I starred because I knew that this was the critical moment of the game that I had to calculate here, and it looks like my my time did pay off. Quite pleased with that. Hi, kitten. Hi, little baby. Hi, babies. They're so cute. Oh, they're so cute. All right, and I made the right decision. So go me. Bishop takes, D takes. Okay, so this was also fascinating because I wondered. Okay, A4 is the third best move. I looked at A4, and computer actually suggests just running rather than even taking the pawn. I would have desperado, just so you guys can see, because it's the line. Well, real quick, queen takes is bad. It's the worst capture. I thought he should have gone D takes. It's the best capture to resolve the weakness. And this is kind of where, I think this is kind of where the game was lost, actually. Because it looks like if Tyler plays D takes C5, which is what I thought he should do, he has some compensation for the pawn, and it's a playable game. Minus 0.7 or 0.7 at our level is whatever. I mean, you guys saw in the opening, I was, white had like a 0.7 advantage. Like, you just play on. It's not a big deal. But he has to make the right move here. B takes -1 is uncomfortable, but queen takes minus 1.6 and just like, it's just easy pickings for me. Out of curiosity, I was just kind of curious. A4, just want to see this based on the computer. I thought I would have gone bishop takes b4, which is good, but dropping it to e7 is better. I guess because then takes, and you have tempo, and then you can support it. Yeah, that would make sense, actually. E7, A takes, C takes, queen has to move, and then you can even do like AC8 and just like open up the, the file. And then you're no longer under any long-term threat as well. All right, so that makes a lot of sense. Just so you guys can see, I was planning on playing the Desperado, because if he does anything else, I win his rook. So I thought he'd have to play queen takes on b4. Computer suggests a5 in this position first, which is probably good. I was going to just play knight d6. And yeah, computer says it's like -1, minus 1.05 or so, or minus 0.95. But a5 would be more accurate. Whatever, maybe I would have found that if we got to there, but this is what I'd calculated. So I feel pretty good about myself, actually. Last week I think I played a bad game. This week it looks like I played a good game. However, all right, so I take with the bishop, and then he takes with the queen, and this is just kind of like the game losing. I just want to show you guys real quick, because what I was calculating when I went bishop takes was, in fact, d takes. And I thought with d takes, I have to take the pawn, because what else am I going to do? It's the only move where black has an advantage, has an edge. I win a tempo on the queen. Computer, for example, recommends just dropping queen b3. So let's say he does that. I don't think it's a hard move to find. He's then hitting the knight. Only move is to move it back, which is what I found, which is what I saw. And I thought in this position he would win some tempos on my queen. For example, computer suggests a move such as rook cd1, because it's silly to be shooting into this deep c-pawn now. Once I move my queen, let's say to e7, black has compensation for the pawn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The compensation is that he owns the d file. He has the bishop pair, and he's got a little more territory than me. That's like a fair amount of compensation, to be honest. In fact, I'm surprised it's not closer to equal. But I still, at the end of the day, the pawn is the pawn, and they do recommend. By the way, the move that they are imploring him to play, and I know this on the lines, is really he has to play bishop f1 just so he can look to like activate it and trade it. Because otherwise, even if he pushes f4 to open the diagonal, because I played the c6 move, which I know is very important, his bishop is just not good. So I'm proud of myself because that's a core principle of the Wade defense. All right. Anyway, he plays queen takes on c5, and this is kind of already quite bad for him. Obviously, I take the pawn. I mean, I looked at this. I wasn't really strongly considering any other moves, but I didn't blitz here because I thought that like my due diligence, I should probably play a smart game and make the best of it. I'm up a clear pawn with a better position. He's got a few weaknesses still. Life is good. H4 is actually his... It's one of his best shots. They also like queen e5. A lot of moves are very equal here. It's actually funny. A lot of moves are basically all minus 1.8, which means the position's quite bad for white. I consider less than 2 to be not lost at our level, but obviously it's like winning for me and it's losing for him, but it's not lost, if that makes sense. There's still possible comebacks. He plays h4, which makes sense, and the computer likes what I do. Yeah, I just retreat the bishop. Retreat the knight. It looks like knight d5 is slightly more accurate, but whatever. I just wanted to get this piece in the game. I thought it was still good. I had plenty of time. I'm just going to sit on my material advantage. Computer still wants him to play bishop f1. Again, I mentioned that to Tyler in the post-cap. He has to get that the piece more active. Instead, he plays f4, which is just... It's actually not a big blunder here. Right, I didn't think it was a big blunder here. Right. Computer does like h6. I end up playing it again. I consistently play good moves a turn late. I'll play that soon. Instead, I play rook f d8. Certainly my move can't be bad. Well, it's not the best move. Okay, whatever. Rook ed1. It's just a minus 2 point. It's a minus 2 position. It's just really, really, really good for black. They like the knight d5. I should have just ripped it and dipped it, or even h6. My move is an inaccuracy. I didn't really think he would go for the queen trade. Just so you guys can tell, what I saw is if he does go for the queen trade, I thought that this was very easily winning for me. That's why I thought he wouldn't. And as you guys can tell, it makes it very simple for me. I get my rooks both on the d file. I get some luff with h6, and I have and I'm gonna basically be unstoppable about winning this d pawn. If I need to, I can reroute things like that. But all right. But he drops back to c4. It looks like he should have ignored it. I actually thought he should have ignored it as well, because I'm not really threatening to take, because then I fix his pawn structure a bit, to be honest. I think he overreacted by retreating here. Not that it matters much. He's still in pretty rough shape. Computer now likes knight d5, which is what I play. So finally I hit him with a knight d5, and they're like, good job, Rob. You should have done this 2 moves ago. Sorry. h5 is his best path forward, but the game is lost, so cool. All right, let's finish strong. We're almost done. He's going to resign soon, so let's see what... look at all these knight moves. Not moves, Bob Seeger, man. Plays h5. Now I play h6. It's the best move in the position. All right, good job for some precision. I said on the board, I just didn't want to allow any malarkey. It gave me some luft. Why not? I don't think I'm losing anything by playing it. And look, lo and behold, best move in the position by far. It is by far the best move. Hey, sometimes I can show some class, right? Yeah, the computer says he needs to just trade here and just try to somehow hold this position, even though it's miserable. Instead, he goes g4. This loses another pawn, and it's just a minus 3.7, 3.2, depending on how you look at it. Knight takes f4 is minus 3.24. Damn. I did have to just double check. Also, I could have taken the b pawn. It is the second best move. It's still quite good. I just spent some time calculating, the takes, just to make sure I wasn't blundering anything, because it certainly looked like he just, blundered a pawn. He did blunder a pawn. I just wanted to make sure. So I did that calculations. I took, and the game is lost here. Move like queen f1 is suggested. That's rough. He tries to search forward with bishop f4. Again, he's trying to keep the bishop on. If I could have just traded it, I would have. It would have been very, very simple. So he moves the bishop f4. They like a5. I wondered about a5. I consistently was thinking about playing a5. Do they like my move? Knight d5 is good too. Just getting it back here. Oh, they don't like my plan? Knight c7 to d5. I thought my plan was sophisticated. Just kind of keeping everything... Oh, they do like it. It's excellent. Okay, cool. Phew! Feels good. Rook a1 doesn't do anything. And, yeah, then I play knight up here. It's the best move. And, he's going to resign in 2 moves. All right. My overall thoughts. I played a good game. 93% accuracy. If you look at my overall mistakes, there were a couple inaccuracies, but I played a damn good game. I understand the concepts of the position. I was able to do that. Tyler gave me a pawn where he didn't have that much compensation for it. He allowed me to play against this isolated queen pawn. I think I did a good job of it. This was definitely one of the more simple games that I've played. Not taking anything away from Tyler, obviously. Not like, sometimes simple is good. But I just mean there weren't a lot of tactical considerations. Obviously, I'm constantly threatening different forks. like I was before or whatnot. But there wasn't a lot of tactical play here. And I thought I gently improved my position. Yeah, and now they're saying to just take, which is what I do. Takes, he takes back with the pawn. I'm just kind of curious if my last move is the best move. Yes, again, knight d5. They've suggested knight d5 is the best move often, and I just played a very calm, cool, collected knight d5. It's a minus 4.6 position, minus 4.7, and Tyler does resign here because it's... I'm going to be... yeah, they're even suggesting he has to go bishop takes, pawn takes, and it's just completely hopeless. And then he has to like move his queen all the way back. I'm just up 2 pawns where I complete lock on the position. I don't blame him resigning there. I thought I was going to win very, very comfortably. And yeah, minus almost 5. All right, my friends. I finished the Open. I'm pretty pleased with my result. I gained some rating. I'll be back in the mid section, but maybe next month, if I do really well in it and I win it again, maybe 5 wins or something, maybe that'll be the last time I play the mid-tier section. I don't know. I'll get more cracks at the heavy hitters, a la Zach and beyond. But for now, if I can put away, Tyler's a good player, and I comfortably won this one, then I'll be really pleased with myself. All right. Just so you guys can see, end of the game for class. The review once again. 93%. Kind of funny. Last week I played like an 80%, and Zach played like a 90. Sorry, just finishing the salad. This week I played like 10% better than Tyler. So cool. 2 inaccuracies. I can work on that. A few good moves. Who knows? Oh, one great. Pretty good gamers overall. All right, I'm gonna end the video here. I'm pleased with myself, and I'll I guess the next tournament. Actually, let's just double check this together. Wait, let's look at this. I haven't played a weekend tournament in a while. March quads are the 7th. Maybe I'll play that. We are going to be putting the Thursday on the schedule soon, I hope. So we'll see what the deal is for that. I need to email Haley now that I think about it. Who signed up for the March right now? Steven, Mike, don't know Matt Collins, don't know Matthias, and then Tyler. Tyler's already signed up. Good for him. He wants revenge. All right, he signed up for the midsection too. I think it's because, as we said, both of us won't hit the rating qualifier. You need to be 1710. Wow, wait. The February Swiss they already submitted it? Damn. All right, so I am 1667 now, which is great. How much will the side game hurt me? I lost 15 points drawing. Rough. All right, so I gained 30 in the Open, and I lost 15 drawing Nico. So all for my efforts going 2.5 out of 4. You could say I made 15 points, not too bad. Zach gained a little bit of rating. I did finish on 2 points, not too shabby. Whoa, Anton, Barash, Drew. Wow, Tyler. Hey, I finished higher than a national master. Facts, I did. In fairness, he had three buys, and he only got points for 2 of them. But nonetheless, I finished higher than the national master. He's the best player in the club, by the way, Anton Barash. So cool. I'm pretty proud of myself. Looks like Romain lost 40-ish points. This player is unrated. He lost all of his games, but he still gets a provisional rating. Not too shabby. Justin gained a tiny bit of rating from a draw. I did pretty well. All right, cool. Well, this does mean 1667, or if we minus 15 points, I'll be about 1650, which is kind of the way I've thought of myself. I would like to believe I'm a bit higher rated than that, blah, 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 blah. Cool. Ben climbed over 1800. Wow. Mike Brown finished on 17. I wonder if he didn't play tonight because 1711 means he can play the Open next month. That's like a Mike Brown move. He did tell me he's feeling sick. He was feeling sick, but that's a Mike Brown move right there. So it means that he's going to play in the Open, so I'm not going to be able to get a revenge. And look at that. Shea Winter won the section. Shea is a young kid, I think college age, and he's clearly very good at chess. He's not the best player in the club. That would be Anton, but Shea Winter is definitely up there. All right, I'm going to sign out. 2 points in the Open section is no joke. I'm proud of myself. My friend Zane won the midsection. Looks like Nico is gaining rating. Good for him. He's provisional. He'll be, as I said when I played him, I missed the win, but he should definitely be higher than 1300. There's no question about that. Yeah. I'm just really quickly looking at the results. Matthew Wesley ripped the 98% plus game against me, and yet he loses to everybody else. I don't really mean that. He's actually one of the... Actually, to be completely honest, Matthew Wesley might be the nicest person at the club. I will say that. Well, other than me, of course. No. But Matthew would get my vote, for the record. And I'm glad. All right, and Jamie got a win. We need him to get the dubs. Jamie's a good guy. All right, that's everything from me. Glenn didn't play tonight. I was surprised not to see him. I think Glenn is good, but he definitely has weaknesses in his game. And then in the under section, I don't know most of these players. I know Camille. It looks like he didn't win, sadly, so it means he won't be playing in the middle section. This is a kid I played in one of the tournaments, and I thought he was actually quite good. He's the guy who resigned the completely drawn position against me, which I'm thrilled about. Cool. All right. That's going to be everything. Have a good night, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed my little Boylston review of people playing the club. I'll post this one tonight. Peace out.